Hello, welcome back to Level 10 NPC. My name's Stevie and I'm the host and the guide in the channel where we'll drill down into the minutiae of turning numbers and statistics in your player character sheet into a playable player character. Now, one of the gifts I received over the Christmas period was the new Dragonlance book, the Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. It is an adventure path. It will take you from 1st to 11th level, so it states on the back, and much like the Curse of Strahd or Out of the Abyss or the Dragon Heist, it is a published adventure from Wizards of the Coast. It isn't a source book for the world of Krynn. It isn't a gazetteer. It isn't what you would expect from a source book for you to create and write your own adventures in the world of Krynn. But what it is a beautifully illustrated, hopefully exciting adventure. I haven't had a chance to read through the book yet. I have read the character creation rules, and that's what we're going to focus on. Sidebar. Now, there has been a very public legal battle going on in the background between the original content creators of the IP for Dragonlance and the Wizards of the Coast. I'm not here to weigh in one way or the other on that. That's for their lawyers to figure it out over. All I'm interested in is making playable characters for a role-playing game. With this being Dragonlance, and what with them giving us access to a new playable player race, I thought we should make a Kender for world-specific races, and there is a Sorcerer's subclass in the book, the LUNAR Sorcery. So, we're going to make ourselves a LUNAR Sorcerer Kender. I'll see you in a few. Okay guys, here we go again, back to Roll-Friend D&D Beyond. On the character builder here, the first stop as always for me is a quick visit to the fantasy name generators. But a point to note here is that there is no option for Kenders or Dragonlance fantasy name generators this time. So what's that about? I used a halfling name generator and we got Osvon Whisperbridge. Back on the builder here. Now, it's very important to select the Dragonlance content tab. Incidentally, I should point out that you will need to purchase the digital version of a Dragonlance book on D&D Beyond to have access to the character creation options. Just a point of note, keep that in mind. So with the Dragonlance content on, we move on to the race page. With the advent of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, the default setting for making characters is the variable options method. That means you're free to choose whatever stat increases you'd like, which kind, i.e. +1 to 3 different stats, or +2 to 1 and +1 to another, which languages you'd like to start with, and what your alignment is. For Osvon, I chose +2 Constitution, +1 Charisma. I chose Kender Speak for my other starting language, and I chose Osvon to be chaotic neutral in alignment. The next few things are pretty standard for all PCs. Movement is 30 feet, I'm a humanoid, and my size is small, which can be quite advantageous at times. The next 3 racial traits are Kender specific. The first thing is the Fearless ability. Once per long rest, you can take advantage on the saving roll to resist, or end, the Frightened condition. I quite like this ability. It shows the indomitable spirit of this race. The next ability is a selection of skill proficiencies to choose from, or from under the banner called the Kender Aptitude. I took Sleight of Hand, not because I wanted them to be particularly thievish, but because I knew my stats weren't going to be strong in the Wisdom department. I think Sleight of Hand is also in here to represent the historic Kender and how they were particularly fond of lifting things and keeping them for themselves. But these days, not every Kender is built the same, and not every Kender is a kleptomaniac. The last trait is the Taunt ability. As a sorcerer, I can't really see Osvon making much use of this ability, but it might be quite amusing to taunt a creature into a pit trap or off the edge of a cliff with a sneaky application of an illusion spell. Okay, on to the class page. As I discussed before, there's a new Sorcerer subclass in the Shadow of the Dragon Queen book, the LUNAR Sorcerer. There's also a few background options and new feats I wanted to try out. So, we set the XP to level 4 to give us access to a feat for our ability score improvement. With these new options, I don't know man, if I was making a sorcerer normally I'd be doubling down on the meta magic options as best I could. Now, because I'm a sorcerer, and my spell casting attack rolls and spell save modifiers work off of charisma, I'd be remiss if I didn't double down on the charisma based skills. That being the case, we opt for deception and persuasion. Osvon is likely the face of the party, unless you happen to be hanging out with the paladin. Now when you choose the LUNAR Sorcery subclass, you get a spell pick at 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th and 9th levels, and depending on what phase of the moon you were born in, determines the choice of spell from full moon, crescent moon and new moon. Because I'm a sorcerer, I'm very squishy, and I want access to some protection. I opt for the shield spell of the full moon column here. at later levels. Now, excuse my Scottishness here, but I can footer with these options to change the moon choices. This next class feature I love. It's access to the Sacred Flame spell. It's called Moonfire thematically, but mechanically it's the same as the Sacred Flame spell. And it's a cantrip, so you can cast it as many times as you'd like. Next we have the Font of Magic class feature. Now if you've played the Sorcerer before, there's no surprises here. You use your sorcery points to generate more spell slots, or vice versa. There's not much else to discuss here. This next feature is why I keep coming back to the Sorcerer as my go-to when it comes to a spellcaster. It's the Meta Magic ability. Now you have a plethora of options to pick from, and you can at later levels swap out your metas for different ones. But the two I've picked are, in my opinion, two of your best options for the length of your character's career. The Heightened spell, for those spells that your target absolutely must fail their saving throw on. Trust me, the expenditure of 3 sorcery points to give a spell a better chance of success versus the burn of a spell slot with nothing to show for it. 3 SPs all day long, baby. All day long. The Extended spell is just good sense. Got mage armor? Cool. 8 hours duration? Cool. Cast that spell in the morning, probably get a good day's adventuring for that investment. How about casting it before you go to sleep? Extended spell meta tacked on. Wake up in the morning, still armoured, and lo and behold, you have all your spell slots for that day too. Now, I'm sure there's some Sorcerer players consider themselves a bit of an expert on metamags, and I welcome your opinions in the comment section. Let us do battle there. This last class feature stems from being level 4 and getting our first ability score improvement, or access to a feat. I opted for the feat. Now, normally this is where I would be doing the happy dance with 2 more meta magic options and 2 more sorcery points to play with, but because I'm making a Dragonlance themed character, I had to do a kind of retcon here with my character at this point. I had to go to the description section and choose my Mage of High Sorcery background. That gave me the initiative of the High Sorcery feat for free, which then gave me the option of being able to select the Adept of Red Robe feat here at level 4. I'll go into more detail on the background options when I get to that page. The Adept of the Red Robe feat grants me a further 2nd level spell to add to my arsenal. I get 1 free cast of invisibility per long rest, and I can cast the spell again as many times as I have spell slots available to do so. I had other spell choices, but invisibility is now fitting in with this tricksy little illusionist I seem to be building here. The other feature of this feat is pretty great as well. When you roll a 9 or less on your ability check, including attack rolls, you can instead call it a 10 on the dice. You can do this as many times as your proficiency bonus per long rest, which is awesome. On to the ability scores. Now, as I always say, don't start with a max stat, aim for a max stat. It's something that your character should aspire to, something to aim for in the growth of your character over a campaign. I know that seems like a preposterous concept to many of you, especially those coming to tabletop RPGs from video games like Skyrim or Dragon Age. The problem with a max stat means that you had to sacrifice heavily in another area to get there, and that usually means that they're really good at the one thing their max stat allows for, but pretty useless at everything else. Instead of being competent in a few areas and weak in maybe one. It's about balance and growth. Aim to be the best, not start there. With that in mind, I applied the standard array thus. 8 in strength. It's the dump lump. Honestly, if a sorcerer has to make a strength check or hit something in melee, things went really south. 13 in dex. Some armor class bonus. Not much, but some is better than nothing. I put a 15 into my constitution and boosted it to 16 with my +1. Gave me a 16 constitution, plus 3 hit points and a higher bonus for concentration spells. Being a spellcaster's hard work. I put a 12 into intelligence, +1 to my intelligence skill checks, a 10 into my wisdom. It's a nothing stat. As with most of my sorcerers, it's a real weak point in the build in general because a lot of important skills work off of wisdom. And I put a 14 into my charisma, plus the 2 to give me a 16 charisma. +3 to spell attacks and spell saves, a big boost to all those social skills that make the world go round. On to the description page. This is where we add some flavour to the character in the form of a little history. Because we're making a character from the Dragonlance campaign, we can access the campaign specific options like Solomonic Knight or a Mage of High Sorcery. With the Mage of High Sorcery selected, I can explore my options in there. I took Solomonic and Draconic. In a campaign about Knights of Solomon and Dragons, it just seemed rude not to be able to speak those languages. The next background feature here is the free feat, the Initiative High Sorcery. I opted for the Red Moon Lunatari options and gained the Featherfall because falling damage sucks ass. And the Disguise Self because, again, tricks the little illusionist. Also because thematically, The other options were the goody two-shoes white robe wizards and the baddie bad guy black robe wizards. Red robes are cool. Interestingly, there was no background options for me when I made this character. I had built him originally to be a courtier, but as I didn't have any other options available to me, the background options are from the courtier background, and as such, it puts my mind in a good starting place for when it comes to writing Osvon's backstory. Into the equipment section. I gave Osvon a couple of magic items. He's level 4 now and he's been adventuring, where he's made enough cash to treat himself. 2 things I gave him are superb utility items for a sorcerer. The first item is a Bloodwell vial. It counts as a spellcasting focus while your blood is inside the vial. You get a +1 spell attack modifier and a +1 spell save modifier, and you also regain 5 sorcery points anytime you use hit dice to recover HP. It's a fantastic item. You will need access to Tasha's though to get stats for it. The other item I gave him here was a Luckstone, or a Stone of Good Luck. Honestly, it's just a great item on any character. +1 to ability checks and a +1 saving throw. The rest of the gear on Osvon is basic adventuring gear. He has a crossbow for when he can't or won't be able to cast spells and still wants to contribute to combat. The knives are for show, he's never likely to use them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Osvon Whisperbridge's build. Next up, Backstory Land. Welcome to Backstory Land. This is the results of the random rolls on the life path generator in the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So just quickly run through what I got for Osvon Whisperbridge. My birth was prophesied in ancient text. You are foretold to use your power for terrible ends. If that has been born under a bad sign, I don't know what is. People around you believe that your powers are a curse levied on your family for past transgression. A red splotch appears on your neck once a day, then vanishes after an hour. If you're standing when you cast a spell, you rise 6 inches into the air and float gently back down. So Osvon is, he is a strange character. He has a lot of murky past going on here, and that's a lot to work with. Quite like this Antichrist vibe that we're getting off this character here. I knew who my parents were. I was born at home. I had no other children, no other brothers or sisters. I was raised by my single mother or a stepfather. What happened to my absent parent? He died, caused death. That was an apparent suicide. I think emphasis on the word apparent here. We were poor, grew up in an encampment village in the wilderness, in the rural people. I was perceived by my peers. Others saw me as being different or strange, so I had few companions. I must give off this Damien vibe from the Omen. I got myself out of the shit pile by seeing how other people did it. My immediate family never spoke of my ancestors. When I asked, they would change the subject. It wasn't until I started displaying strange talents that the full truth of my heritage came out. So again, was I born for a purpose? Am I the Antichrist? I am the Harbinger. Aged 21 to 30 years, I rolled 4 of the bizarre events that could happen to my character. You did something that brought terrible shame in the eyes of your family and involved some scandal, dabbled in dark magic, offended some of them both. The attitude of your family members towards you becomes indifferent. I've spent time working in the job. I started the game with more money. I had a supernatural experience. I witnessed the falling of a red star, a face appearing in the frost, or some other bizarre happening. You're certain this is an omen of some sort. This is just writing itself. And then I had a bit of good fortune rolling the boons table. A distant relative left you a stipend that enables you to live at a comfortable lifestyle for 1d20 years. You choose to live at a higher lifestyle, but reduce the price of the lifestyle by 2 goals per during that time. So I could go for the expensive lifestyle, 10 gold pieces for 8. And then it's story. Disclaimer, I apologise profusely if you come from Liverpool, Birkenhead, Merseyside, the Wirral, any of that kind of area, because I'm about to try and read this backstory in a Liverpudlian accent. I am sorry. Weird shit keeps happening to me. Ever since I was a little kid, weird shit has followed me around like a dark cloud, hanging there just waiting to rain in my sunny day. So take my birth as a prime example. It was a complete surprise to my parents when I happened along. I mean, hello, don't you know how babies are made? Well, apparently not, because apparently there was a big stinker around my village for months. Ooh, that feckless little Orlin little mouse went and got that stupid slip of a girl, Calora Ravenberry, with child. Ooh, and out wedlock too. The very idea. If I was that girl's mother, I'd be matching up to Old Nelly for the witch's brew, if you get my meaning, Mrs. Emma Mouse. Or so I'm told. The chin's dead wag. Old Nelly was there for my arrival though, and she announced it with aplomb, I'll give her that. According to my dear mamma, she announced that I was the harbinger of the Shadow Queen. My birth was foretold by the red comet that hung over our village the night I was hatched. Then she spat in me, ma'am, and spat in our earth. Then, for good measure, she placed a presence curse on me. Who knows, Maybe old Nelly had more than piss and vinegar in her spit, because I grew up, as it turns out, I am kind of a big deal. I say I'm a big deal, but how big a deal remains to be seen. I am the peasant king, so the courtiers of Castle Calamar whisper behind me back. I'm a nobody, a bumpkin, a Kender by the gods, swaggering around Gathanis' court, hobnobbing with the well-heeled and the landed gentry. How did I find myself here? Well, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I swear it's true. A lost relative, a man of Whisperbridge, left me his holdings, a house and a sizable fortune that allows me to at least exude an air of wealth and breeding. Of course, it wouldn't be me if it weren't some weird shit. Like I said, it does follow me around. My old man apparently committed suicide, although me old man is remarkably quiet about the details. If I didn't want to think the worst of her, I'd be a little bit more concerned about the herbs and spices in her larder. Then there's that birthmark in the shape of a crescent moon that appears on my neck at least once a day for a bit of an hour and then buggers off again. That birthmark only lent credibility to old Nelly's condemnation of me and me mum's good name. Eventually we had enough of the slurs and slander, so we became camp followers. It was only Mum and me, and we never had many friends. We moved around a lot, so I never had a community long enough to make some roots. But wherever we went, bad luck and the weird shit kept happening to us. I don't think my mum was right with not being upfront about my heritage. It wasn't until that letter showed up with my ticket out with the shit heap. Truth is, I didn't feel bad about leaving my mum. She was never honest with me, and as far as I was concerned, it was my heritage, my ticket out, my shot at a better life. Turns out, when I got to Calamar and moved in, I was more or less invited to attend the Mage's Hideout to consider my hereditary membership. Turns out, my old dearest old relative man had paved the way for me to more or less take my seat with the Red Mages. I'm treated here more or less the same as I was in the early days, but this time it's with some trepidation, some, fear. The high-ups here, they seem to know something and they ain't sharing. There ain't a lot of natural talent around the conclave neither. There's a lot of bright young things, because they're classically trained mages. There's a lot of derision too. But look at my face, how could you not love my face? I'm well liked, and I'm finding my way, one day at a time. Okay guys, welcome to the clumsily titled Things We Learned Made Up About Osvon Whisperbridge. The first thing I've written down here is born under a bad sign. What does that mean? What purpose does Osvon serve? Is he actually an Antichrist type figure? Will he, through his actions, bring about the rebirth of Tacitus? Maybe so. Maybe this PC will eventually become an NPC when they make the choice to either save the world or condemn it. Secondly, I have written down here the birthmark that appears once a day for an hour or so. What's going on there? Is LUNAR actually being quite hands-on with her investment? She gave Osvon the lunar sorcery he wields after all. Maybe in a world of interventionist gods and divine beings that walk among us, Osvon could find himself an unwitting pawn in a much larger game of cosmic chess. Thirdly, we have written down the mysterious long-lost relative who left Osvon a small stipend to live comfortably for a good number of years. This smacks of Pip and Abel Magwitch from the Great Expectations. What's his goal motivation here? Is Marvin Whisperbridge an agent of LUNAR or Tacitus? Is he making it possible for Osvon to be in the right place politically to move that chess piece into play? We could be venturing into a political intrigue level of RP here. And it's not for everyone, but it is rewarding RP if handled properly. Fourthly, I've written down the Mages of High Sorcery. They themselves, and the Enclave of Mages, presents a whole buffet of intrigue and Machiavellian subplots. You could probably have a whole campaign about the machinations of the wizard school. Think Hogwarts multiplied by House of Cards, and Osvon finds himself right in the midst of it. Lastly, as always, some popular media point of reference to springboard your character concepts off of. Think of any fish out of water story, supplanting a character from a poor, ordinary, working class background and placing them among the echelons of high society and royalty. Movies like Trading Places or Dave or The Man in the Iron Mask are good examples of this runner. You could also approach it from an undercover cop movie or show, getting close to the criminals and blurring the lines between what's legal and what gets the job done. Face Off and Donnie Brasco being two vastly different examples of a similar theme. Next up, some final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Dragonlance book. I've had it a couple of days now and I've had a chance to read through it. It is like every other D&D book, beautifully illustrated and reasonably well laid out for you to follow as an adventure. I was happy to see the return of Lord Soth to his badass roots, happily to see that he is a challenge rating 19 adversary, as he should be. And that is that. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you liked it, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, and you want to know when the next one's out, hit the bell. Or don't. You should never do things you don't want to. If you have any comments about the video, please let me know in the comments down below. If there's any characters or systems that you'd like me to try and have a go at making a character for, again, let me know in the comments. As always, there is Google Drive available. All the characters I make on the channel will be sitting there for you guys to take and use in your own games at this very address. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you on the next video. Bye!